Welcome back to the 12th man. As you can see, I am not as perky as usual today. Brighton 4, Aston Villa nil. Defeat at the Amex. Bloody hell. What was that? What was that? That first half was an anomaly. Let's just put it that way, shall we? An anomaly. Not great, not great. But before we start, we'll talk about the positives. Now we're through the positives. Let's talk about the things that didn't go great. Collectively, we wasn't very good in that first half at all. I mean, I'll be honest, the first 5 minutes I thought were okay. There was a blunder from the Brighton defence where Buendia nearly slotted it on his left. But we looked up for it for the first 5 minutes, and that poor pass from Pau Torres has killed us off. It killed us off. And then obviously bounce off Lindelof and goes in. But yeah, from when João Gomez was asking for the Brighton player, forgive me for not remembering who it was, he looked like his head had gone from them. He really did. He looked angry and he looked, like he couldn't get out of that mood. So I kind of felt like it was coming. The red card from VAR, I mean, they slowed it down. It looks like there's a trailing leg, but he did roll very fast. But the red card's a red card. We can sit here all day and talk about whether he meant to do it or not. But ultimately, that's a free game ban for him, so he won't be playing another fixture now until the 19th of September against Spurs away. So. But on the back of that, Goretzka coming in, you'll probably find maybe that he'll fill in the double pivot next to Kamara. The second half, I don't think we looked too bad. With 10 men, but we definitely looked better with 10 men than we did with 11 anyway. But great for George Hemmings to get some minutes in the Premier League. Probably not done a huge amount for his confidence. Playing in a game like that, but again, ultimately Premier League minutes in the table, so over the moon for him. McGinn looked bang up for it in the first half as well. Maatsen, I don't think Maatsen looked terrible either. I think he looked quite good, but there isn't a huge amount to say about that. We got bopped, but Mr. Optimistic, I'm going to try and put a positive spin on things. We remember what happened the first game of the season against Newcastle, that game where we lost by 4 and for that 5-1 game, and we went on to play Champions League football. So the first game of the season is never a measure of how the season's going to go, but ultimately it highlights there probably needs to be a little bit more urgency in the window with getting these players over the line and through the door. Obviously we're now being linked with more centre-backs. Goretzka looks like that's going to happen this week. Ollie Watkins, I mean, for us to, I'm not going to sit here and speculate and say, it's on Ollie, give Ollie the middle finger. I'm not gonna do that because we don't know if it was his choice. Unai might be keeping him away from the squad due to him, saying he wants to leave, not sign a new contract. So we're waiting for that improved bid from Al Hilal to come through. Seen a little murmur online that there's another bid of like 51 million coming in I think that's in pounds. I think it was like 59 million in euros, but unsure on the source of that. But ultimately we're expecting them to come back in, so I hope they get a move on with that so we can replace accordingly. Needs to happen. We really need to replace. Obviously Majo and Tammy injured as well. It's just not good. We definitely can't go into that Arsenal game with no striker. Absolutely not. So that really needs to move fast. That for me is the most important. We absolutely need to get a striker in ASAP. So if Ollie is going, let's just get it over and done with. Tell them the figure we want and just get him out the door. But yeah, we've still got a week left of the transfer window. I think 8 days in total. Before we move forward, and that's it. That's us solidified as a squad. Up next, Arsenal at home. Not going to be an easy game, and I'm sorry that this game isn't going to talk about the game. This pod isn't going to talk about the game much, but ultimately, I don't want to sit here for 10, 15 minutes and talk about a 4-0 loss. I just don't want to do that. We know we weren't good enough. Obviously, had a red card, not a great performance, but I don't want to sit here and slander everyone. I don't. That's not, if that was our starting 11 for the season, can probably have a bit more of a conversation about it. But ultimately, that's an anomaly game. And we'll come good. We'll absolutely come good. I have no doubt about that. So hopefully move forward with the window, get that out the way. I'll be honest, I can't wait to see the back of this window. It has been chaos. I'm all for players coming in and out, but this has been the Aston Villa rebuild. It's been absolutely mental. It's been absolutely mental. I think it's been mentally draining for everybody. It definitely has for me. I mean, don't get it wrong. I love the transfer windows, but so many players who you think so fondly of, and to lose so many of them in one window, it's going to take time. Now is not the time to panic. It really isn't the time to panic. We've got to be patient. There's a lot of people who are going to embed, that need to embed into the Unai Emery way of football. And I'm at peace with that. And the good thing is, something that's really positive for us to talk about is, obviously, we've got Arsenal next game at Villa Park, which I'm okay with. That's absolutely fine. Get that fixture out the way. But I think the Villa that showed up today against Brighton isn't going to be that Villa that showed up against Arsenal, that I'm sure of. And then it's on to Hull on the 5th of September, Villa v Forest on the 12th of September, Spurs v Villa on the 19th of September, and then we got a 3-week international break. Now, you could go work one or two ways. Yeah, I hate international breaks. I only really watch international football if it's the World Cup or the Euros. I don't tend to watch qualifying games. I only tend to watch the big tournaments with international football. I just especially friendlies. I've got no time for it. But having that 3-week break means all the new players get time. Obviously, there'll be some go on international duty, but ultimately, that's a time where it's 3 weeks, no games, and things can get done right off the pitch. Everything's going on in the back room, training, tactics, everybody, what role they're going to play at Aston Villa for this season. That is the time. So if it's a bit slow until then, I don't think it will. I think we'll pick up points against Hull. I think we'll pick up points against Forest. And then obviously the Spurs game. Spurs got battered against Brentford yesterday as well. So the Spurs fans will be feeling probably just as bad as we do, especially as the money they've spent this summer. They looked absolutely woeful. But yeah, I think we can get something from that Spurs game. It all depends on how Spurs show up over the next 3 fixtures or so for them. And then obviously, as we spoke about, onto that 3-week break, which will come at a great time, gives the squad time to integrate, time to bond, time to work together more. And ultimately, that's what's important. But yeah, absolutely can't wait for this transfer window to close. Just want it over and done with. Want all of our signings done. I think it's really important. One thing I will point out actually about today, which is a positive, the Villa fans, oh my God, they were unreal. There was people on Twitter suggesting people were leaving at halftime. But obviously, at 40 minutes, you go for a beer. Like that's normal, whether we're winning or losing, especially at Villa Park. People go for a beer at 40 minutes and people going, oh yeah, Villa fans are leaving already. I mean, people may have gone at 4-0 at 40 minutes, but ultimately, they were just going for a beer. So yeah, the Villa faithful, the Villa home and away, absolutely sung their art out, and that's massive. So fair play to them. I hope they get their ticket refunded for that, because that was an absolute shit show. So yeah, Garnacho as well. Nice to see him get 5. I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes. But again, could have probably done with him for the 90 minutes, really. But if he's not ready, we absolutely take what Unai Emery says. So there's lots of work for us to do. Absolutely lots of work for us to do. Gone into a game with no striker. It was either going to be a freak win or a freak loss, and freak loss it was. Heavily linked with Joel Ordonez. I don't know if I've butchered that pronunciation, then my bad. But so the centre-back situation's been addressed. Obviously, Goretzka coming in too. Ollie Watkins out. Could probably do with one more across the front line as well. But ultimately, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. First game of the season isn't a measure of what's ahead. and obviously gone in with a weakened squad. So absolutely nothing to worry about. Of course, we've all been buzzing for the season ahead. And then that's what happens on the first game of the season. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, and we're probably all going to have a bit of a miserable Sunday. But do not fear. We are going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. The system's going to work. We're making the right signings. We're doing the right business. We're going to go in the right direction. It's going to be a great season. So, yeah, don't feel too disheartened. Of course, our Sundays is ruined, essentially. Villa have ruined many of Sundays for us over the years. But they've also come with some great ones too. And no doubt we'll be celebrating some great Sundays this season too. So, wanted to keep this nice and short. Don't want to sit here and wax for 20 minutes, half hour about how shit we were. But that's it. It's out the way. It's done. Freak loss. João Gomez red card, which we absolutely could have done without. He's come back early from that injury. Everybody's buzzing. And now he may as well have basically stayed injured. Because he was rumoured to be out for 2 to 4 weeks anyway. So he may have never come back till that Spurs game regardless. So, that's just me clutching, trying to find a positive and a negative. But yeah, more episodes to come this week, obviously, as the transfer window progresses and more incomings happen. We'll definitely start talking about that as well through the week. So again, sorry I'm not as upbeat as usual. And, we've got nothing to sing and dance about right now, but we're going to be fine for this season. Champions League to look forward to, and being back at Villa Park next week. I absolutely cannot wait to be back at Villa Park next week. So yeah. So I'll see you during the week for some more videos around the transfer window, and we will get a pre-match pod for Arsenal out next week. I shall start those as of next week. So I didn't do a pre-match one this week. I did a big season one with Neil. So I'll see you then, guys. I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday. And I'm sorry that Villa have ruined it for you. But here we are. So I'm going to go for a carvery now. That's my plan. I'm going to go for a nice walk in a carvery, clear my head, and finish the weekend off. And back to normality tomorrow. So yeah, from myself, if you are enjoying the content, guys, please do like and subscribe and comment. Let's have a chat in the comments. Pushing on 2,000 subscribers now. So thank you to everybody who subscribes. But yeah, I'll see you all soon for another episode. Up the Villa.